Every generation blames the one before. Mike and the mechanics tell us that. May we give the next generations something to be excited about. For the past 4 decades, I have been a student, model, learner, educator on matters leadership. I've come to appreciate that which has been taught isn't necessarily what is in the books, but that which is offered by mentors and coaches without the title given to them. Tolele Buyani was my mentor. Tolele is a Nguni name that means discover. And discover, I have found 4 years later. And as I think through what it was that he shared, I look through the past 4 decades and appreciate the beauty that is in leadership versus leadership. Growing up in Umhlabiyalingana, I got to appreciate the joy of being able to have a mentor who gives all of themselves to ensure that you are able to traverse the world and do things that are better than they could have. As it turned out to be, he was the custodian for our family's livestock. My dad was far away and had to be in a space where he was earning a living and therefore could not be there to mentor me. Tolele did the right things. For the first decade, I got to be able to learn and go back to what he taught. Love. Lead with heart begins with an appreciation of lead is an acrostic over the 4 decades. L for love. Love that he demonstrated to me looking after cattle. And indeed, there was something I could be able to look up to, because when I began to learn and read about leadership, I appreciated even more when more was said. We don't have to like one another. We just have to work together. That was a fallacy. Because truth be told, if we are going to be working 1/3 of our life with people we dislike, we drink poison with the hope a neighbor will die. Here is the opportunity for us to pick up the lessons around loving self, loving teams, loving the space we are afforded the chance to be a part of. I got to understand what loving was as I related with Tolele, and he was communicating to me how each of the heifers had a particular responsibility of growing next generations. And as I looked into that, I was transported to the 2nd generation. The 2nd generation is one that begins to look into equipping. E in lead is about equip. What he taught me was how to be able to have fresh milk straight off the udder and get to know from that how I could get healed, but also get to notice how the next leader gets to be released from among the calves. I had to learn how that could be done, because getting back into the work environment, I got to realize that so many had chosen to stay in the roles longer than they needed to. Leadership has come through as a clarion call for ensuring that those who lead groom their successors, so success is in succession. As I reflect on that aspect of equipping, I get to realize the importance of the freshness of the ideas that are passed on to the generation that comes. Generation X and Alpha are looking up to see what this generation will be able to hand over to them. For that to happen, there is a necessity to be able to add on the A, which is affirming. Talela showed me how it was possible to be able to look at what is there from a misshaped horn heifer that provided the milk that we needed the most in our household. And out of that, we could feed not just ourselves, but our neighbors. And if we're able to affirm those who are doing roles and fulfilling roles that no one really celebrates, we may very well be building next cohort of effective leaders who are not seeking any praise whatsoever, but they are out there saying, I am available to serve, and serve because it is the rent I pay for living. D comes through and becomes the fourth generation element and the fourth decade element as it speaks to destiny. Destinating becomes the crucial thing that I get to be able to appreciate as I flow through what this environment has brought through to us. 3 decades of democracy, freedom to express ourselves, freedom to be anywhere we can be for as long as we have the right resources. This being the case, therefore, calls on us to look out for mentors and coaches who are going to help shape us to become the better version of who we are capable of becoming. This being the case means there's got to be deliberate discipline brought into the workspace so that those who come to the workspace desire and look forward to being there, not because there is a boss watching, but because it is the space where they can express the very best of themselves. Talela spoke to destiny for me. I got to be able to appreciate this as I was navigating the transition from corporate to academia and back to corporate and then to public service, and realizing that there are so many in the public service who are saying, I do not need to do anything for you. And yet there is a desire for us to come through and present South Africa as the cradle of humankind, and Alkebulan as the space where all will find themselves. Is it possible that this generation could be able to hand to Generation Z, Alpha, and the one after, and the one after that, something they can build on? Because you and I have the opportunity to model what it is like to love, equip, affirm, and destinate. And our destiny is so much brighter that each and every one of us can look to a point where our children will be proud of who we have become, and they know they have a chalice they can build on, and it is not poisoned. Because it is that which builds them and builds the nation. A nation that many always looked up to find ideas for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. This is what we can hand over to our next generations. I offer lead with heart to you, to the continent, and the globe. Let's lead once more.